past 8 months, we've gotten a good look under the hood of our officer corps. We've done our best to thoroughly assess the human terrain. We've had to make trade-offs and some difficult decisions. It's more of an art than a science. We have been and will continue to be judicious, but also expeditious. The new compass heading is clear. Out with the Shirellis, the McKenzies, and the Millies, and in with the Stockdales, the Schwarzkopfs, and the Pattons. More leadership changes will be made, of that I'm certain. Not because we want to, but because we must. Once again, this is life and death. The sooner we have the right people, the sooner we can advance the right policies. Personnel is policy. But I look out at this group, and I see great Americans. Leaders who have given decades to our great republic, at great sacrifice to yourselves and to your families. But if the words I'm speaking today are making your heart sink, then you should do the honorable thing and resign. We would thank you for your service. But I suspect, I know, the overwhelming majority of you feel the opposite. These words make your hearts full. You love the War Department because you love what you do, the profession of arms. You are hereby liberated to be an apolitical, hard-charging, no-nonsense, constitutional leader that you joined the military to be.
Hello, Bobby Jones here for Midas Touch and Valor Media Networks, and also as president of Veterans for Responsible Leadership. The speech that was given by now Secretary of War Pete Hegseth at Quantico today was the most despicable thing that I have seen in my entire time being associated with the military. And I know there are a lot of people that have a lot of takes, a lot of veterans that have takes on this. And this is just mine. Mind you, I'm one that believes in the structure that the United States have with civilian leadership being atop of the military. And going back to George Washington turning over his sword after finishing the Revolutionary War and returning to Mount Vernon before being elected president, it's a tradition that we have had for now over 230 years. What was said today by Pete Hegseth was not even really a speech. It was a failed pep rally. And in my entire time of being associated with the military, I have never seen such blatantly disregarding statements to actual active service members by leadership in my life. So let's go through a few of these things, and I'll show you why I have issues with what he said, while I will continue to stay on him in particular, because he should know better. So let's first talk about just the overall presentation of what he said. The large American flag in the background. It was almost like it was a knockoff version of the movie Patton with George C. Scott, right? He wanted to have that majestic moment where he is the ultimate tough guy in front of the flag, so he can establish what he kept referring to as, quote, the warrior ethos. All right, so instead of him conveying that type of gravitas, he looked like a high school football player or a high school football team captain trying to rally up the team before going out and playing a big game when no one in the team respects him. It was more like, get off the stage. When you look and you see clips and pictures of the people listening, which I find very interesting, they limited the amount of pictures that were displayed from the actual 1, 2, 3, and 4 stars, as well as senior enlisted members that were there, the NCOs. You know, in typical fashion, they were going to be stoic because that's what we are trained to do. But there's one thing looking stoic, is another thing looking like you're pissed to be there. Some of them flew thousands of miles to be there just to hear him give a rah-rah speech to people who have dedicated their entire adult life in the defense of their nation. You don't give rah-rah speeches. They understand what's at stake. Who the hell are you to tell them that? When most of them has almost doubled the time in uniform than that you had. I mean, it makes no sense. And somehow, magically, in the middle of this whole thing, you decide to promote your book. The book you released right before being selected as Secretary of Defense so you could tell Donald Trump, I'm your guy. You literally self-promoted yourself in a speech that is supposed to be about the troops. And after you did that, you decided to go ahead and start laying out some of your personnel policies, etc. And you started out with the saying personnel as policy, personnel is policy, etc., etc. It's interesting that you want to hold people to the highest of standards when you actually committed an act that was in violation of the UCMJ and Signalgate that would have got every last one of the people watching you locked up, because they compromise actual mission with confidential or classified information. But you, of all people, think you're the one that's going to talk about holding up standards. You are the one who is sitting there saying the physical standards need to be this, that, and the other, and we got too many fat people, blah, 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 and this, that, and the other. Yeah, you're absolutely right. They'll fix that if you give them the orders to fix that. But at the same time, the only thing you talked about when it came to raising the standards in the military was physical appearance. Physical appearance. Let me tell you something. If you're working on a reactor plant on an aircraft carrier, you can do as many pull-ups until the cows come home. But when something goes wrong there, you better be able to flex this. Or if something goes wrong in your aircraft, you better be able to flex this. There's no amount of push-ups or sit-ups or pull-ups that is going to replace critical thinking under crisis. Period. But in your sec bro mindset, you believe the push-up, sit-ups is all that matters. All that matters. Heck, the Russians released a video about how physically tough they looked before they went into Ukraine. How's that working out for them? If you lack the ability to collect skill sets and to critically think and to be able to apply those thoughts under pressure, then why have a military? That is what has made America's military great. It's not just the physical prowess. It's the honor, the courage, the commitment, and the intelligence and the development of critical thinking that has separated America's military historically. But instead of trying to foster more of that, you double down on divisiveness. You basically say, hey, there are quotas. That's why some of y'all are sitting in this room, is basically what you said. If you were black, brown, Latino, yellow, all these different colors of the rainbow, or if you were a female, you basically said to their faces, you shouldn't be in this room full of generals and admirals because the only reason that you're there is because of your color. What? When every historian worth their salt will tell you minorities in the American military that have excelled to that level are usually exceptional, way past the standards. And you actually made fun of the people who were the first trailblazers to do something. You literally said you don't want to celebrate someone just for being the first. Well, then here's my question for you, Hegseth. Why the hell were they only the first? Are you saying that these are the only people that were good enough to get there? Or maybe there was a system that restricted them from advancing in the goddamn first place. Maybe that was it. But nope, you had the audacity to say that to those people in their faces. And you want to know why no one clapped. You want to know why no one said anything, because they knew they were being used as political props. And then they were just flat out outraged. The retired generals that are speaking now on these cable news talk shows have talked to those generals that were in the room, because those retired generals mentored the current generals, and none of them were pleased about having to be called to listen to that BS. I'm sick and tired of the quota talk. Show us the quotas that you said happened over the years. Show us the documents that said this number will be here. This number. I was in the military for 26 years. I never saw a sheet that had quotas on it. Lord knows I would have loved to have seen it, but I never did. And the reason I would have loved to have seen it, I wanted to see what people think is the right number, because there is no such thing. There's no such thing. And so now we're moving into this era where now the Department of Defense, or as you call it, the War Department, is going to resemble a frat house, a fraternity house. You know why? Because you said today that we're not going to be looking. We're going to review hazing policies and bullying policies, because just because you're tough doesn't mean you're bullying and hazing. Well, there's a reason those policies were put in place in the first place. You had service members dying over bullshit. Dying over stupid traditions that literally put their lives at risk. Being in the military is hard enough. without having to deal with this extraneous, stupid stuff. That's not about building esprit de corps. That's not about being the best you can be. That's not about being the best professional military officer or enlisted you can be. Tradition like that is just peer pressure from dead people. And you bought into it. So now there's no recourse. If there is legitimate bullying or hazing, what are you going to do? What if someone is getting hazed because they're racist, or the person is being hazed is a different color, or this, that, and other? You have no mechanism. You don't want it. And then the cherry on top of this ridiculousness is you're saying that if you have adverse incidents in your record, like a DUI or something like that, like you got, y'all are going to forgive it. Just going to wipe it to the side because everyone makes mistakes. No, you made mistakes. The people in that room did not. They had to hold themselves to the highest level of integrity, the highest levels of standards, and you could not meet those standards. You could not even get command at the company level as a goddamn 03, 04. And those of us who are in the military know what that means. You did not get your Ranger tab, from what I understand. Not special forces, just regular Ranger tab. But you are supposed to be the arbiter of what high standards are. You 3 times divorced because you cheated on each one of your wives. You, the alleged beater of one of them. You, the DUI person. You, the person that literally ran 2 nonprofits that were supposed to help military people into the ground. You're the one that's delivering that message. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? And then you have the nerve to question if a person of color or if a woman has earned the right to sit in that damn audience. You think you should be the arbiter of who they are and if they're good enough to be there when you weren't even good enough to make my rank. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. You have done nothing to unify this military. Everything you're doing, the policies that you've dropped, most out of those 10 are just divisive, and they're targeting people and they're making people feel like they don't belong. But that's by design because you want your American military to look a certain way. I got news for you, brother. DEI was present in the United States military all the way back in 1775. Not because America was enlightened, but because America had no choice. They needed to take all fighters, all who were willing to stand up to the largest and most powerful military in the world when they did so. That was Black, that was Asian, that was freaking Native, that was women, that was all sorts of types that fought. That is the history. And that includes a gay man who taught the American military, specifically the Army, how to have discipline. These are facts that you've tried to erase as you've come into the Pentagon. And these are facts despite you trying to shape the future force into something that it will never be. You need to take an example from the people you tried to lecture today and hopefully live your life more like them. The world will be better off.
Love this video? Support independent media and unlock exclusive content, ad-free videos, and custom emojis by becoming a paid member of our YouTube channel today. You can also gift memberships to others. Let's keep growing together.